my darling, the best things in life are free. So I hired a truck and went down by courts, looking for the best things of every sort. I pick up a computer, well how you mean? Radio, video, stereo, TV, washing machine. And when the store manager confronted me, I say, partners, the best things in life are free. But they call the police and lock up the tail, and they give me some free airs in the royal jail. I want what? Sing it out, girls. My great-great-grandmother, she's so demanding. She have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. But all of them proverbs where she does teach me is just like adding fire to fury. She told me to practice the things she preach. I never hang my hat where granny can reach. My great-great-grandmother told me have faith, because good things does come to those who wait. So I make a date with a nice woman for 8:30 to meet me by Strand. I wait, then I start to grind, because 8:30 reach to 9:30. When she and she sweet man walk up to me, she say, Bomber, my dear, I am so sorry. She man pull out a bull pistol, tell me run fast. After waiting so long, I get a good foot, so me lord. I want what? Sing it out, girls. My great-great-grandmother, so miserable. She always have a disadvantage on people. She say everybody does treat she funny, and all they want to get from she is she money. She say before you walk you have to creep, and always remember go don't make sheep. And for people in this world today to survive, you have to play dead to catch Kobo alive. So the next day I went down on the Labas, playing dead to catch Kobo when they pass. They say what you sow is that you does reap. I play dead too long so I fall asleep. Is then I feel a burning below my waist, with 6 Kobos staring me in my face. They search my pocket, take out everything, and they playing tug of war with my thing.
Ah, yes, indeed. I thought it was important, of course, as I started this way, because I really and truly, there's a lot of messages that would have been sent, moral messages, of course, that would have been sent by this particular piece of music. Let's say it again. Let's hear some other parts of it.
Thank you. My great-great-grandmother is a psychic. She does do clairvoyance and black magic. She have a chronic dose of schizophobia. She told me that the road to success is phobia. She say always jump in the sea is shark, and a chop in water never leave mark. My great-great-grandmother told me that night, always happen in the darkness must come to light. So the next night I check on my wife Susan. She was in the dark with another man. I say for me gang told me it's right. I bound to see what's going on in there tonight. So I put on every light inside of the house. to see what was going on with my spouse. The both of them stoops, take off the light and gone. So up to now I see if I get in a hall.
Yes, indeed, of course. The morals of the story, I think, of those stories confined or crafted in that wonderful presentation by the mighty Bomber, of course, old stalwart of traditional calypso, what we grew up on, and the essence or the commencement or the genesis of it. And of course, has morphed over the years into what is now called soca, but we still have the traditional part of it as the National Carnival Commission, whose mandate it is, apart from the Ministry of Culture, indirectly, to promote and to preserve, of course, those what I consider to be revered traditions. And so that piece of music, that calypso, I thought was it would have been relevant to tonight's topic, because I want to say to you, particularly the young people in this country, that there is more to life than what I consider to be the speed and the pace. Yes, you can dance. Yes, you can frolic. Yes, you can have fun. But you would know by now that to have fun, there must be a medium of exchange called money that you must have in order for that to be, since most of, or if not all of human activities, except of course and in special circumstance, it really does as well. But except of course in the whole question of breathing, you breathe for free. The air in the atmosphere is one, the oxygen and so on is one that you get for free. But of course, as I said, in special circumstance, like if you are a diver, you have to buy the oxygen in order to, of course, engage in your activity underwater. So we don't have gills as human beings. We are not like fish. But the fact is that there are morals, lessons to be learned, positive lessons in that calypso that I thought I should treat with tonight. And you would see, of course, on the side of me and on the back, of course, a picture of those forensic or those persons who are responsible in the police service for the recovery. They call them, of course, crime scene investigators, CSI investigators there. And I promised you last night that I will broach the subject. We ought not to be timid, intimidated, or have any trepidation to treat with topics that may be ultra sensitive, may be extremely emotive or emotional, to not just the presenters, particularly where the presenters may be affected directly. And I want to say tonight's broach, tonight's revelation, tonight's explanation is one that, yes, has caused me to be extremely emotional and emitted, of course, some emotions among the very people that Fish, we fondly call him. But Ricky is what we normally will use on a daily basis, connected to his natural name. Very, very, very emotional, very dynamic individual when he was alive, obviously. I want to say that, of course, I think the autopsy was completed, I think, today. And we should have some idea as to when his burial will take place. But that being as it may, there are lessons to be learned from that experience. And more than that, how could we avoid it? Why it is that people feel that they can take people's lives because they may be in disagreement. Bad enough that we have it on a geopolitical level. The Americans going into Venezuela to resolve a particular dispute between, of course, the administration there and, of course, the government of the United States. But at the micro and human-to-human level, at the community level, you don't expect, frankly, that that kind of behavior, particularly where the individual may be contributing or have been contributing to the community. You see, Fish, we have been on this program several times. I will play that tomorrow, one of the programs. Maybe I just play the entire program where he was featured, where he was on. Because we have similar vision for the community. To see East Port of Spain, Laventil, Beetham, Sealats, etc., not as the naysayers and the pessimists will see it or see them, these communities, but to use and appropriate what I consider to be not acronym, but certainly a good example is that of seeing the glass half full as opposed to half empty. Most people from the outside in particular would say that Laventil, East Port of Spain, Beetham, Sealats are not a place to be or to go to, and that they have very little optimism as to these communities emerging out of the stigma and the stain that over the years they have attracted, and they therefore are seen as renegades, are seen as not non-conformists to what the society expects, not just of the individuals, but of the wider immediate neighborhood and community. And we have had that, and God knows we have had too much of that. But the fact of the matter is that what do we do? It is clearly not a police per se matter, because when the police would have come and make their investigations and they go and they return to the radio station, to the police station, and that of their respective homes and communities, the community remains and the interaction has to go on. And the neighborhood has to function with all of the dimensions similar to that of other well-to-do communities. You must have the division of labor. You must have, of course, persons engaged in what one will consider the commercialization of the basics of life for food, shelter, clothing. So you must have the shops, the parlors, the groceries. You must have, of course, the clothing and an apparel store. You must have stores. You must have, of course, places to live. You must have the land. You must have, of course, the hardware store, etc. And even if, of course, you do not have the facilities or these businesses nestled inside of the community itself, people will have to go out of the community and still, of course, acquire these items simply because these are fundamental to the existence of any human being. Food, shelter, clothing, entertainment. Let us not waste time. And therefore, because these communities are part and parcel of the social construct and part and parcel of the physical positioning, within the land space or the real estate of Trinidad and Tobago, we have to interact. And those of us who have committed themselves to these communities, whether it be from an educational perspective, whether it be from a cultural perspective, whether it be from a sporting perspective, whether it be from a cultural perspective, we have a duty and responsibility that is extremely challenging. And not to say we don't know, and sometimes it is so overwhelming, and probably being over enthusiastic to effect the paradigm shift and behavioral changes that are required in order for us to make optimum use of the resources that we have and the God-given talents. We sometimes go overboard because we want change. We want change to take place quickly. But let's go to the lines. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor. I trust that you're hearing me. Let me just make sure that. Yes.
Good night.
Good night. Just away.
You hearing me?
Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Right. Good. Yes, I'm hearing you now. Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead.
Lennox, I'm in the road. I'm in Virginia here.
Yes. Okay.
Hey,
Virginia. Yes.
Yeah. Lennox, I want to get into a conversation.
Go ahead.
Lennox, you could correct me if I'm wrong or if I missed something. You don't any place in Trinidad or United States, any place, I'm talking, and not supposed to have lawless people. I know that crime is a thing that people, no matter what you do, it's in their DNA. They will do thing, and they could get away with it. See, like the kid, that guy over there, what his name, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Did they find anybody who did that?
Not yet. The investigation is still pursuing. It's being
Why
pursued.
you investigated who? I don't understand how these police operate. I see how they operate here. And they will find. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it has to be somebody knows something with it. And I don't know what the nature of it, what happened, but it takes somebody else's life. Either the person bad or the person good or whatever person. You took somebody else's life.
Yes.
That's what you did not produce.
Yeah, bottom line, and you could never produce.
Exactly.
Yes.
So let me talk about Lavantil and whoever. They think that they up there, that they are untouchable. Right? So let me tell you something. If they really want to do something, they can do something. If they have to need outside help, they have to do something about that situation. This is thing going on for many, many years, like Lennox, and
yes.
I know that since I was living there. You know? And it has to come to an end. You have to get the head at the culprit. Bottom line, once you get the head, you get the recipe. And they has to go in there, and they have to go from door to door and find it. Somebody has to do something. Not because of that crime, but because of anything else. They're doing the thing and are going to hide out, and you go find out where they are. And then again, they have to have city cameras up and they see what's going on and see what's going on. They have getaway car. They have car. People see something. You know, and they're afraid to say something. You know, Mr. Lennox?
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, people see, people know, people must see something, right? But you have nobody saying anything about this crime. I keep going on and going on, you know, and they encouraging this crime, and they don't know what else to do. You got something else to do. They have to get, they gotta get some kind of the police cannot have, or they whatever force they have though, they can't have. They gotta have somebody who can take care of that problem. You see, when Kamala, Honorable Kamala Processor said that lawless people live in trust, she's right. She's right, Mr. Lennox. This has been going on for many years.
Yeah.
And you had to put a stop to it. People are very concerned. I don't know what else to tell you. You know?
Yeah.
And you cannot protect a person, criminal in your house that you know what they're doing, and you're protecting a criminal, either it's your daughter or son or everybody, whenever you know somebody who do it. And God will not forget you. Like aiding and abetting, like encouraging it. And they live among you. You know, I have families in law enforcement. I have a son-in-law. He worked for DAA. He worked he used to work for U.S. Marshal. He used to do a lot of stuff. I know what he does. They don't play. They're going for you. Wherever you is, you're an iron soul. They still go for you.
If you can call back, I'll try to get you on the system itself. I have you on the handset, so I want to make sure that we.
Okay. I didn't know. I thought it was.
No, I have somebody that
right,
so just call back. Yeah.
Somebody.
Ask the person to call back. Just wrap up what you are saying.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. No, I didn't ask you to leave. I just asked to wrap up, and of course, that means that you would have given an indication as to expedite your conclusion. But of course, I take note of what the caller would have said, calling from the United States clearly, and expressing a concern. But I want to direct the conversation against a background that we have a law enforcement apparatus that does not have a good track record. Let's go to the line before I continue to give you the background and what are some of the variables that we must consider in this whole process, and the role of the community, people like myself who have taken the responsibility to make a positive input and impact. But of course, if you have forces that are much more potent, the challenge is, of course, even greater. But let's go to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Diego Martin inside. Good night to you and all your listeners.
Same to you, my friend.
All right. Let me start.
Yes.
Yesterday had a roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always tried to find out where we went with disciplining the people of the day of policing. Now, I engaged another police officer on a station, a TV station today, and it's for him that was not another day of policing. It was a day of trying to mitigate against the criminal elements in Trinidad and Tobago. And I was comforted by that because, we have some miscreants in the leadership of the police. And I'm not shying away from saying that. No apologies. The leadership of the current police came out of their policing. And they have not been disciplined by a lot of commissioners who went after neither Fitzy and them, nobody disciplined them. Now, there is a lot of, I should say, bad policing, bad judiciary judgment against them. And the police service commissioners has not done anything. I see they're agitating for 7 people on the police commission for what? I want them to be removed. So that's one issue. The second issue is that, a very crucial person who basically spew the gospel of the PNM, a highly paid communication specialist under the Duen, who has been paid about 3 point something million to spew hate and discontent by the name of Pepper Source News Source, has put out in the public domain that the state of emergency will not continue, but the government will be bringing special legislation. And basically that is a good move with respect to sustaining the fight against crime.
All right.
Now, one of the things I suspect that the government basically calculated that they would not get the support, the special majority support, to have another 3 months of the SOE, because the independent PNM senators might just toe the line for the PNM, and they will not get it. So they had to look elsewhere. And one of the reasons they would have not gotten it, because remember the Commissioner of Police, Guerrero, said they want him fail, and he identified the opposition. So if what I'm seeing from Pepper Source News Source, that they bring in special legislation, I read the post, and 2 and 2 does give me 5. And it brought to my attention Jamaica. Now, we had a 42% drop, eh?
Yes.
Jamaica was better than us, 43% in mitigating homicide. And they did it with a special legislation. And the acronym for the special legislation is ZOSO, Z-O-S-O. Zone of Special Operations. And it's best basically keeping an SOE in localized areas, special areas. And if it worked for Jamaica, and we seem to have a handle on what we have to do, it will work for us, and it is a means of. So while she wanted to cause couture, I believe if we handle it properly, it's the way to go. So I am in all favor of what I see and what I'm hoping that this. The other issue I want to talk about, we have the newspaper and they're showing the petticoat boy. They're showing the petticoat, they're showing what the PNM telling them to say. On the two major television stations, highlighting people paying for fines, highlighting people breaking the law. They vex, they paying the fine. I see they make a coconut vendor a hero, He coming to complain about a $19,000 fine. And if you go through the detail, it's added up to so many laws he had broken. He driving without insurance. He driving without basically his cargo, keeping it safe. So they vexed that he did 19,000. I believe he should have get 40,000 in fine, because they're going to put it in context. If one of the coconuts on the van has become detached from his van and fall on somebody brand new Honda Civic or Honda Vezel on the bonnet, you know how much money they would have had to pay in a body shop to bring that back to pristine condition, Lennox? Close to $25,000. because you have a new vessel and you're going behind that coconut rock and that coconut come out. He didn't secure it properly. So I don't know why all of these people complaining about lawbreakers. We always want to give a blight to the criminals. And when the criminals come for you, they don't give you a blight, they pump you with it. You
Yes.
understand?
Yes,
I,
yes.
I mean, and we have to be serious. And now the basic, the greatest joke is happening now. And they're ridiculing the fella from Port of Spain, North and South. You know, there was a robbery at his home.
Yes, in the West, and I wonder what bike he would have had to ride to take him to Port of Spain, where he does his
Well,
legal service or attend Parliament. Go ahead.
They all over the place. They want to know if they take your breadfruit. They want to know if they take your cold pot. They want to know if they go on with the bicycle. They do the robbery and then they ride off. Instead of a car, they ride off in a bicycle. They're laughing at him. They're saying he didn't support his stand your ground. And if karma taking him back, coming back at him to show him how stupid he is. So they're laughing at him on social media.
I would expect that because they have that uncanny ability to attract the tomfoolery, to have people laugh at them for the tomfoolery that they have displayed. I mean, it is just horrendous and ludicrous. But go ahead.
And the last point, I want to big up the Minister of Education, Mr. Dowlat.
Go ahead.
And I wonder if Bundles is under a bed or hiding your face. Look at schools. Seamless, no complaints, no protests. All they're doing now is complaining they are getting laptop. You understand? Imagine that.
Yeah, I too was pleasantly receptive to the fact that I have heard no complaints either by the substantive institution that normally would complain. I talk about the National Teachers Association. We know that they have a particular agenda, and we see none of that, and including, of course, a tutor who have not complained as well. Yes.
The newspaper let that go back a little headline and delete it.
Yeah. I noticed that as well. We have a duty, and thank you for that, for bringing that to the fore, because that clearly, no complaint at the commencement of a new term is the exception in the recent past to the norm. But now that seems to be normalizing that you're going to have no glitches at the commencement of terms in Trinidad and Tobago. School terms we're talking about here, people. Yes.
I mean to say we're giving every child a chance to develop themselves.
Yes.
I mean to say, for 10 years, you was expecting, you wanted to know which school were we going to see a protest with school. None of that had happened. And that is what management is all about. That is what these ministers, under the leadership of KPB, has done. Her team has done.
But do you think it is consistent with what we have grown accustomed to seeing from the UNC in whatever incarnation, whether it be 2010 to 2015, we saw a similar pattern, and that seemed to be continuing. Of course, there are those who are trying to...
Performance beat old talk.
Anytime, yes.
And I have to blow the trumpet. They have done tremendously well in 6 months.
6 months, yes.
Yes, the only people complaining is the criminals, you know.
Yeah. And those who are sympathetic, hoping that will improve their political currency. But of course, what will happen is that the population will be so discerning that they will lump both elements together and know that they are an existential threat and a detriment to the advancement of Trinidad and Tobago. It's clear. And the opposition have themselves to blame for attaching their wagon, so to speak, to that kind of debilitating and what I consider to be unproductive scenario. Go ahead.
The last point. You remember the former Prime Minister used the word geometry?
Yes.
And Shamfa Kojo has given a real live and direct demonstration of what geometry is.
Yeah, well,
When she tells,
I see that she has resurfaced in Tobago. I
Yeah.
know that she looked and she was all teary eyes, almost, and walked out of a meeting that was based on apologies after apologies by the current leader of the opposition and leader of the PNM. I saw that. I have the video with respect to that, showing her disgust. But suddenly, she seemed to have reverberating a different disposition. I suppose she probably believed that somehow the political stocks of the PNM will somehow be in an upward trajectory in Tobago. But of course, we have seen them fool themselves before, so this is no exception. But go ahead. Yes.
but she has not grown the language she used to tell Fali to tell KPB where to put
Where to put the
I think she
the radar, yes. Where to put the radar, yes.
Where it will fit with her.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying, that they continue to spit in the sky and it continues to fall in their face. They continue, of course, to engage in what I consider to be various cogs or various elements leading towards, of course, the extinction of the PNM as a political organization. I have often advocated that, and I see that as another cog in that trajectory or in that process.
Yeah, they become disgusted.
Yes, yes.
Have a
Okay
nice
then.
night.
Have a good one as well, my friend. Of course, a lot of information there. The line is open. I didn't have to say it, so it's clear that people know it. 337 337, yes, 6940. Like I myself is hesitant. 337-6940, yes, that is the number to call. Only WhatsApp, as we continue, of course, to take your calls. It seems as though the telephone is doing what it is expected of it, and therefore I'm extremely delighted tonight to have that. Last night, of course, we weren't that fortunate. And that being as it may, I did voice, of course, he was giving us, because, you know, he is Mr. Diego Martin, that is our crime expert. He speaks about these matters as how it relates to national development and affect us, whether negatively or positively. But let's go to the line again before, of course, I explain to you what Zoso is, a Jamaican, of course, construct for addressing crime in hotspots areas. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Uncle Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend. And all the best to you and your family.
Man.
Yes.
Same to you and yours, man. Same to you
for
and yours.
2026, yes.
Yeah, I want to say condolences to the families and the friends of the person lost their life in front.
Yes.
Place what it was. Yeah, I heard about it, man.
Yeah, it was sad. A
Real-
businessman, but a community enthusiast and activist of extraordinary nature. Of course, when I play the clip here, you'll get an appreciation. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I called tonight. I want to hear what we just going outside trailer a bit now.
Okay, no problem.
Where's your take on the whole incident what took place with the US and the Venezuela thing? Where's your whole take on that?
Well, you know, I have always been an ultra-nationalist. Trinidad and Tobago's interests, and I see Trinidad and Tobago's interests being served by that, as was the case with the initial presence of the Americans here. I take the position, in other words, implicitly, of that of the government and that of the Prime Minister in particular, who would have made certain pronouncements. Some see it as bellicose language, some see it as dangerous, some see it, of course, as the start of World War III and all of that. But, of course, it's turned out to be a lot of pie in the sky and, of course, much ado about nothing. In other words, they generated a storm in a teacup for Trinidad and Tobago, generating, of course, the kind of excitement and the kind of what I consider to be unnecessary panic, particularly by the opposition, and all of that has turned out to be zero, including, of course, you heard the last caller talking about Kojo talking about the radar. Well, of course, the radar has proven to be a non-issue now. Now that, of course, the objectives of the Americans have been achieved. But bottom line, Trinidad and Tobago will benefit. The Dragon Gas deal will now come to fruition. It's just a matter of time. The Venezuelans, whether they like it or not, will have to, of course, conform to the wishes of the Americans, and that is where we are. Go ahead.
Well, let me interject to that last part you know said it, right? With the Venezuelans, they will have to accept what America, whatever policy America put in place to them or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
I think that will be a hard pill for them to swallow, because the people who are against Maduro, right, them and now will have a problem with the American policies and what America will come to do in the country.
Yeah.
Right. So it will have a unity amongst the Maduro supporters and the opposition supporters when it comes to that. But just on the outside of this whole thing, with the approach America take by taking a military operation and arresting Maduro and taking them to the U.S. jurisdiction before a court, right?
Mm-hmm.
The UN have a we call this thing Article 2 the when they say the American breach.
Yeah, Article 2 and of course Article 5 as well. The UN sovereignty of states, and of course matters should be settled without brute force, as was demonstrated.
The UN had a meeting yesterday, and
yes,
and they're saying they object to the action America taking.
Yes.
But
yes, I am fully aware. I follow that with intense interest.
Yeah. You see that possibility that they're going to have a fallout between the UN and the International Criminal Court with this event what took place?
No, I'm not seeing it. Let me tell you this from two perspectives. One is that the United States is not a member of the International Criminal Court, so they have no jurisdiction or association with the Americans, and vice versa. That's one. Two, of course, the incident, the discussion took place on the within, of course, the Security Council of the United Nations. Well, one of the 5 veto voices, or one of the 5 veto countries, is the United States. So no matter what decision that they would have made, the United States would have had the ability to veto, and therefore whatever decision they make will not affect the United States, simply because the United States will not only justify on the floor of the United Nations their position on the matter, as you would have heard, just as the concerns of Russia, China, Iran, and of course the other players. Incidentally, the only Caribbean country, I have to confirm that I did make a commitment this morning on that, from the Caribbean would have been Trinidad and Tobago, and of course they took a position at the United Nations that did not decry or in any way suggest that the Americans ought not to have done what they did. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, so
okay. I hear you.
I'll come listen to that.
Yes, man.
I just wanted to find. I wanted to get your thought on the whole incident, what took place, and things like that.
Yeah, and I saw that, of course, and I took note that those persons who may be pro or anti, depending Maduro, would be concerned on either side, by way of protests because of the mere fact that the intervention was made. But I want to tell you, if it is that the people were in support of it, but the fact of the matter is that the major part of the Maduro administration, the players, are still there. And there's a reason for that. Because if the Americans had to engage in a complete dislodging of the Maduro administration and the players, some of whom would have been sanctioned, you would have, of necessity, have military boots on the ground to ensure security and so on, and to, of course, make sure that that vacuum that would have been created, that people who may still have remnants of sympathy for Maduro against, of course, persons who now can ride roughshod because they figure that their time has reached. And therefore, you have, of course, civil unrest and civil conflict of a type that is of a violent nature, with the Americans having to come and pacify. They decided not to go that route. That was a possibility, but they decided not to. And there are reasons for that. But let's go to the line again. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted them. Yeah, Uncle Ed, me again. One thing I just wanted to say, right?
Go ahead.
Mr. C. Rodriguez, right?
Mm-hmm.
She don't have a arrest warrant as well as Maduro and some other people in the government.
I think the concern that with respect to her and drug trafficking and so on, I think it is in connection with Europe. I think there's a European, a whole continent banner.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So I was making a point before the caller who raised the issue came back on, and of course had needed that clarification, that keeping the Maduro, that major part of the Maduro administration in place, sends a message to the people, the opponents to Maduro on the ground in Venezuela. But listen, the military and of course the Maduro administration, let's say vicariously, is still in charge. Let me put it that way, right? And therefore, they call a state of emergency, and of course the people conformed because they still have the support of the military. Now, if the military had responded as I suspect the Americans would have, like it to be that there is a split, and therefore you have, of course, elements battling each other from the military perspective, or alternatively, that the entire military turned against Maduro, and therefore people like Delcy Rodriguez and they would have been no more. But that did not happen. But on the other hand, the American Donald Trump, I think it was a very smart and intelligent move because he would have been facing some serious criticism if he had gone for a full-fledged invasion because it was not approved by Congress. He has constraints as well. And who knows, they may be calling for impeachment, not that he is not accustomed to that kind of experience. But certainly, of course, the lawmakers in the United States would have been much more aggressive in terms of going for a full-fledged, committing, of course, American soldiers' lives, etc., possibility to that exercise. So what they chose to do is to, of course, extract Maduro, which, of course, was achieved. And then, of course, tell Delcy Rodriguez, we will tolerate you to the extent to which you conform to our wishes. And, of course, the creme de la creme, the major benefit of that whole exercise is dominant access to the oil and rare minerals and other natural resources of Venezuela. You hear Trump talking about the Venezuelans have to pay for that exercise, the presence of that armada, and the presence of having to go and deploy all of that resource to get Maduro. You have to pay for that. And of course, they have already told Delcy Rodriguez, listen, you have to accept what the White House administration, in terms of encouraging those major, whether it be Chevron or Exxon, to come into Venezuela, allow them to come in peacefully. The army and all must now conform in order to develop, according to Trump, that part of their economy or their economic base. They're talking about the oil. Of course, arguably the Venezuelans having, of course, the largest deposit in the world of crude oil, regardless of whether the quality is one that is easily refinable. But the fact is that that is the case. And therefore, Trump is seeing that as a deal to repay and to cover a cost, and at the same time, of course, get Delcy Rodriguez and her cronies to respond. If not, as the threat is, a full-fledged exercise that could mean a removal of power all entirely. So what do you do as Delcy? You have to abandon, and of course all of them say, well look, we got spared. Because if the Americans could do that in the face of the presence of the Russians, the Chinese, etc., and all of that asset, military and otherwise, that was deployed, and they were able to neutralize it. And notice something, let me tell you this, and why I believe that the Americans have the capacity now to go in without much resistance, is because in the first strike, what they did, they neutralized, of course, their communication system. They neutralized, of course, their ground-to-air missile defense system and all of that. And they are not going to allow any replenishment. The Russians can't come in there and say they come in and bring missiles, or the Chinese and so on, because the armada remains. And, of course, there is a blockade, and therefore that will not happen. So Delcy Rodriguez will have to conform. A present good night. Welcome. We will look at, of course, Trinidad and Tobago's benefit ultimately.
Let us go back again.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something that you're talking about.
Go ahead.
Do you think Russia, Iran, or China care about the Venezuelan over there?
Of course not. Never did.
You know what they care about? They only care about the oil.
That's
they're
right.
extracting right now.
And undermining and undermining the United States.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
What people don't understand, that America come for the oil, we are oil, they come, look at they coming for the oil. Are they a fool? What they doing in your backyard? They're nowhere in your backyard. Look how far it is. United States closest to the Caribbean than them. So what they doing in your backyard?
And more than that, are you not surprised that much of what I consider to be, well, I have to say no propaganda, but it's really and truly is boasting that, of course, they have the Russians and the Chinese deployed, of course, to protect Venezuela and the regime, ultra-modern missiles, etc., that they spend a lot of money for, and that in just a matter of an hour or so, the Americans were able to neutralize it. They can't bring back more now. They will not allow any to come in to replenish, so that they are left naked. So Delcy Rodriguez and her team, if you want to call that, or her cronies, must conform. And that is the reality of the situation. The Americans have won handsomely. And don't matter what the United Nations say, don't matter what the Russians say, the fact is that is the case. And the level of hypocrisy at the same time now manifested itself. Because whilst the Americans were criticizing Russia with respect to Ukraine, Russia now has the opportunity to criticize the United States with respect to Venezuela. But the point about it is that is a case of pot calling kettle bottom black. That is what is happening
Yeah,
here. That's the moral
Lennox,
authority, in other words, to, of
yeah,
course, have that kind of conversation.
United
Go
States
ahead.
they didn't go in and kill people. They didn't go in and kill what Putin was doing, bombing up all innocent people and hospital all about the place. They didn't do it.
Big difference. But I'm saying they have no moral authority to go to the United Nations and call for some. They have none whatsoever, moral or ethical.
Yeah, but
or
what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Look what they let this man do, Maduro, with
Yeah.
all these Venezuelans to dispatch all in different countries.
Yeah.
8 million people displaced and family. Are you telling me that they encouraging that?
And
Now,
what's
I
I think you have a very important point here, because the whole question of those Caribbean leaders talking about a zone of peace and all that, and they see that it's
Exactly.
Maduro
Well, come away.
that caused the destabilization of the region, the hemisphere, and Latin America, and of course the English-speaking Caribbean as well, which of course comprise, or should I say, put another way, which CARICOM, a lot of the countries make up CARICOM. But yet still they're talking about a zone of peace. But we know now too, because we know in the indictment several CARICOM countries leaders have been complicit in causing, of course, these drugs and so on to reach the United States by, of course, throwing a blind eye to this illicit activity going through their waters, their marine environment that they control. So we know that now. So we're waiting for that.
I
Go
add
ahead.
something. Why?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, why Raleigh? Why the former government?
Yeah.
They leave the border open and no Coast Guard around Ugandan waters.
Go to the top of the class, man,
All
because
these
I did that
guns
this morning.
and
Yes.
coming in.
Yes.
You don't know what's coming into your place. They're all in it. They're all of them was in it. I'm not putting no water in my mouth and saying what I'm not saying like, because that's what happening.
Yeah.
Because how can you leave your border open and people walking in like if they're living there?
But the thing about it, in the
And
case
not
of
only
Trinidad,
Venezuela, Mr. Lennox.
yeah, but just
It's
now,
not only Venezuela.
can you make in the case of
Colombian?
Trinidad, we have
Right.
12 or more vessels that could have
Exactly.
could have protected our borders, 24/7, and of course encircled, have a 360 degrees managing or watching or policing, and the PNM government under Rowley and Stuart Young deliberately left those boats in Stoble's Bay,
Exactly.
and for things as minimum as fuel. So I cannot help
I can
but
understand that.
conclude that the government of Trinidad and Tobago then would have been conspirators, complicit.
Yeah. So where's the Coast Guard? Where's the Coast Guard helicopter?
Yeah, in the promotion
Where's
of,
the helicopters?
of narcotics reaching the United States and of course Europe.
So where's the Coast Guard helicopters then? Yeah.
Unless they
Lennox,
prove
where's your-
otherwise. Yeah.
Where's the Coast Guard?
Yeah.
Where's the Coast Guard helicopters? Where's Coast Guard helicopters now? Where they going to?
Exactly. Is it deliberate? That could.
The
they just-
delivery did it.
And watch me.
I'm trying to get a point to you here.
We have a caller calling me. We may have to end caller. Let me just.
Okay, so
Yeah.
all
Caller,
right,
could you-
Mr. Lennox. Mr. Lennox, one thing I want to tell you here.
Yeah, could you call
one
back
thing?
caller?
Let me finish.
This caller is now come.
Just hold on
concluding
1
his
minute. Just hold on
presentation.
1 minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
One
Go ahead,
minute.
Go ahead, Kenrick.
Lennox, I'm different from that subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
You see, all these things that Kamala implied and all these things were going on,
Yeah,
Kamala have to be very careful who she put in position because they will pull down that government.
yeah,
And what I am seeing here, and all these laws and restriction with these things. It's overwhelming. Some of it, right? And all this have to do with the carnival coming up. Because if they have all these laws, it putting these people in things because they need the fat and the wind down low and drink and fool around, lawless. So they can't have that. So now they're using that as an excuse. Think about ticket what telling you. So all these people is not care about that, you know. They care about what they're going to do. But some of the laws that they have there, Lennox, they need to tone down on it. They need to tone down on it. That is too much. To charge somebody for a tail light for $1,200 or $2,500 or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, you know, the lawmakers ought to know the sociological and psychological, what I consider to be tolerance of their population. And if you have done something that would incite their anger, then you ought to know. And if you try something and it has not worked or it is not working, then you need to revisit. So I am very elated that the Prime Minister has said that in 6 months' time, there will be a review, depending, of course, on the, I had to say now, pilot initiative of this fine system, this doubling of fine that was imposed. So I want to say that, but I'm saying that generally, because you come from the community itself, you come from the society itself, lawmakers ought to know what triggers and what tolerance levels people will go to. But sometimes they test the temperature and then will have now to compromise or put another way, adjust, tone down, so I suspect that is what is happening, but I also suspect that the intention, quite apart from the fact that these are fines, but I saw somewhere where they were saying that a particular institution will be created for persons who do not have insurance and an accident occur, that person could benefit. But they were saying that they expect the funds to come from fines that would have been imposed. These are fines, these are not taxes. And of course, to get caught up with a PNM narrative, it's only the PNM I know regularly will talk about fines being imposed as, and let's say, interchangeably using that term as a tax. I don't think that this government should find itself being caught up in that what I consider a crucible, right, of not being able to be discerning. A fine is a fine, a tax is a tax. If you put on the tax, increased tax on bird paper and of course on customs duties and so on, which is very nominal.
That's
very
nominal.
Thing, you know? But to suggest that this is a tax measure, the traffic part is a tax measure. It's not nice. Go ahead.
If somebody intentionally driving and drunk and driving and reckless driving and doing sort of thing, I'm agree with it.
Yeah, but there are some.
I agree with it.
There are some that are justifiable, and there are others that are not. Don't put it that way.
Right. Like those things that dangerous. Just take away the license.
Yeah.
Somebody caught and take away the license because you're in danger of somebody else on the road, and yourself
danger to
and other
society.
people.
With a machine like that, you could weaponize it. You could weaponize a car or a truck or a van.
It's a killer. It's like a gun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I drive. Okay, let me somebody attack.
Yes. Caller, we were engaged in a lively debate, a lively discussion, and I thought I should keep Kenrick on because normally he is not that lengthy, but I thought it was important for people to get a better appreciation as to what's happening. He being, of course, in the United States right now, being a United States citizen, and therefore would have some direct, or should I say, coming from the horse's mouth, information that we may not have here or we may get a little later. So that is why I engage him. But let's go to the line. with respect to this caller. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Leonard.
Good
Leonard,
night. All the best to
yes.
you and yours for
Oh,
2026. Yes.
yes, same to you and your family too, Leonard.
Yes.
Leonard, I was listening to your program and you raised a couple issues that were very, um, were very noteworthy, if you know what I mean.
Thank you.
Your last caller said something, this is more with the international stuff, um, that our borders in Trinidad, this goes back to Maduro, but when there were open borders and you said one of the boats, they had no gas in the boats and the boats were just parked up, I think you said it in the
Okay, that was
ports.
the excuse. The Cuban vessels, yes.
Okay, and then so I want to bring that in with what Trump said. He said there are political leaders in South American region and in the Caribbean that were complicit in helping traffic drugs.
Yes.
And so when Kamala mentioned that a few days ago, the Prime Minister said that, people were jumping on her saying, "What are you saying?" But if you look at some of the decisions that were made in the past from the previous administration, and even from the other islands, those fast boats were just going from port to port, and nobody was taking notice of it. Drugs were flowing freely into Trinidad and coming from Venezuela, and nobody took note of it.
That's right.
You remember that?
That's right.
So
That's
this
right.
would be, yeah, so those are very serious allegations that are made.
Yeah,
And
because they're saying that they throw a blind eye, not that they're unaware,
yeah,
not that they evaded the radar system or the surveillance system. They threw a blind eye, meaning that they were conscious. It was complicit.
yeah,
complicit. Yes. Go ahead.
and they were accessory to the crime.
That's right.
Of transporting drugs. So, and that's the argument that the America will make. But I want to say something. Your caller did say something true. He said that the Prime Minister of Trinidad should tread very carefully with the United States, and he's absolutely right. And we talk about the Monroe Doctrine that was written during the Monroe era in government, and Trump is using that now in South America and probably all of the Caribbean pretty soon. But we cannot fight, we don't have the might to combat the United States because the United States is extremely powerful. And they show that with all these boats are still there facing Venezuela.
Oh, yes.
They're not leaving.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave. I say this because Mr. Trump they're building a military. He's been talking about his army, the equipment that they have in the military. And he said that they need to upgrade it. And the reason why they need to upgrade it is because a lot of these technology they're using, like for example, when they had those fighters just flying over Venezuela, they used one specific jet fighter, which has a radar in it, and it blocks all of the transmission within the country that they're flying over. It blocks everything, it jams it. So I think that helped, yeah, it's a jammer. They had it on the port, they had it on the air, and so they gained access into his residence and extracted them out of Venezuela. But what I'm saying is those jets need materials that are found in Greenland because of the melting Arctic. And Russia has been there, China is over there, and the United States hasn't been doing anything. They don't even have those, the crushers, the ice crushers that you use in the Arctic to crush the ice and go through the water. Russia has like 4 or 5. The United States doesn't have any, I think. China has a whole bunch up there. And so the United States said that they could take Greenland by force, and they could, because I'll tell you why. If they take Greenland, NATO can't do anything, because the United States funds NATO. They have the most powerful military. Without the United States, Russia will invade all of Europe. And they're terrified. They've been through this before. They have a history with Russia. So this is a very kind of an interesting geopolitics that's happening here in our region. And I think when you have to tread lightly with the United States, we also have to make demands on the United States and tell them, look, you are part of AOS, the OAS, the Organization of American States in the Caribbean. They have neglected the OAS. CARICOM gets that one vote, and I think yeah, I think they get every country gets a vote, and we get like 17 votes or
Yeah,
something.
because they are part and parcel independently of each other at the
Right.
OAS. Yes.
That's right,
Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
I
They don't
think I
vote
misstated
as a
it.
block. No, they
Yeah,
don't.
it's like, but we trade as a block. We do trade as a block.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because of CARICOM, which is of course
because of
a
CARICOM.
subgrouping. Yes, yes.
Exactly. But what the OAS has done is they've neglected the mission of the OAS. The OAS is funded by the United States, by the way, and their office is in Washington, D.C. But with the OAS, they're supposed to provide education, technology, share information with us that would help us alleviate poverty, trade better with us. And the United States have failed miserably. They haven't really done much with the Caribbean and South America. And I say that because decades ago when China was here, they didn't care. China was building schools. China has a part of a university here. China has language centers. They've gotten ports now. They give all these Caribbean countries millions of dollars. And, the United States was just giving what do they give us? Use something like those things that support the scanners,
Yeah.
I don't understand. So when you ignore a country like that, and you always expect the country to bow down to you and to succumb to what you want us to do, we've always been very weak at negotiating. And we need, especially CARICOM, we need to have a voice. And my advice would be that CARICOM should probably, as one entity, become part of BRICS. And you're familiar with BRICS, right?
Yeah, yeah. Of
The
course, of
United
course.
States, they can't stop us because BRICS is part of a trading bloc. And we would be able to bypass the USD and trade with the Chinese yuan or in our own currency. And it would help us. And we could still trade with the United States, still be on good terms with them, but we can't just kowtow you know what I mean, to them. I don't know the right word I'm using. It's just, we don't want to keep
But
bowing down.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but you've made some very salient point there, particularly, of course, the role and responsibility, whether they have abdicated or not, or this will show a different light on the attitude of the United States as the, of
Yeah.
course, premier country in the Western
Superpower.
Hemisphere,
Yeah.
and have neglected, of course, the developmental thrust or requirements of the counterparts in of course, Latin America, Central and South
Right.
America in particular, and the Caribbean. So I think I want to suggest that somehow, well, not somehow, but I believe that exercise only this week would have been a wake-up call for the United States, because for the
Yeah.
first time they would have found the degree to which, of course, the Russians were prepared to be involved or have been involved, as well as the Chinese. I understand is over 100 billion dollars that was invested in Venezuela by the Chinese. How they recoup
Chinese,
it now? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. How they
exactly.
recoup that
I,
now? With respect, of
they,
course, to the arrangement that they would have had with the Maduro administration. Clearly, the Americans will want them to
sure.
pay the real price, because I understand they were paying half price. Venezuela didn't mind because, of course, because of the embargo and all of the constraints imposed by the United States. They got a window of opportunity by virtue of the Chinese, who were prepared to take the risk and trade with them, and therefore they get a barrel of oil half the price of the international market, etc. That, of course, will change. But I say too
I,
that at the same time, the Americans have a duty to now have a second look at their backyard and make certain that the
yes.
developmental desires, the developmental ambitions of these communities countries that make up the Western Hemisphere are fairly dealt with, and their developmental thrust be realized. That's how I see it
And
coming out of this
no, you're
exercise.
right. And if the United States really wanted to stop migration and they had worked closely with their partners here in South America,
Yeah,
you wouldn't see the large migration migrating to America, and they're being sent back and treated like dogs and
exactly.
sent to prison. But
So
I
they
want
have
to
been
raise,
part and part. They have been the cause of some of that because of the
They
neglect.
triggered that, yeah.
And when
Yeah.
their enemy, the established enemy, like the Chinese and the Russians, try to fill the vacuum, they now become, of course, a very, what I consider to be cagey and deeply concerned that they have the audacity to come in their domain, so to speak, and invoke, of course, the Monroe Doctrine, as has been clearly, in order
Yeah.
to, of course, re-establish, or should I say sustain, their hegemonious disposition on the entire area.
Yes.
All of these issues, I'm sure, going to
Area,
be discussed in the Congress. I know there are fair people there, and
Well,
as
Congress,
one
that
of the
Congress
mechanisms
is
of
now
democracy,
working.
yeah, they will have
They-
to look at the economic realities of
I
these
hope so.
communities and the neglect. Yes.
But I want to raise one more point though. China is building
Right.
500 oil wells in Venezuela. They've already made some. So I don't think the United States will kick them out. I think this is why President Trump is trying to work with Delcy Rodriguez now, and he already kicked out Machado, the woman. But that it's a wait and see. What I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I'll make it very short, is the penalty that this government is imposing with transportation.
Okay.
You know, I think people need, we're complaining on the radio a lot, but there needs to be a coalition of activism where there's protest. And of course, now we're in a state of emergency, so you really can't protest. But this is like what do you call it? A poverty penalty. It's almost like a human rights violation because it is like it disproportionately burdens the poor. You know what I mean? Like there are people who are really struggling.
But how you arrive at that it disproportionately burdens
That-
the poor when
Because you have-
there is an option? The only how you can get that penalty imposed on you is if you breach a particular law. So how does
Well,
that
see, for exa-
how
well, I
is
wanna
that
say-
reconciled? Go ahead.
Okay, well, if you have a little crack on your windshield, you're going to be fined like $4,000.
Right.
You know
So
what
I'm
I
saying-
mean? And there are
I'm
people
saying
who
if you
a
know-
a
if-
rock hits you.
Yeah, but if you know that you're going to be fined, then what the onus on you is to do what?
I will repair it. I will repair it, but to pay. But listen.
Yeah, but you
sometimes,
see,
know,
that
you're
is
driving-
where the problem is.
All right.
Is
I just-
is a
no,
is a
I think
behavioral
but this.
is a behavioral.
Well, I disagree with you.
change.
I disagree with you on that. I see some of the fines like drunk driving and all of things should be hefty and punitive.
But are you
I
saying
feel like
then
these
that
fines-
that cannot be avoided? Because the way people like you argue
you
this
could fine,
this
no,
thing
you can
is
fine
that
people, but
they have
don't
no
give
choice.
them exorbitant amount. It's
Right.
too high.
Yeah, but
It's
even
just
if
really
it is too high,
ridiculously high.
if it is too high, is it inevitable that someone will be charged for that? For that,
All right, listen. What if
Or
what if
subject
you have a
themselves to
cracked
that
windshield? What if,
penalty?
I'm going to use the cracked windshield as an example. What if you had a cracked windshield and you have
Yeah.
to get it repaired? Of course you will, right?
Right.
If your insurance company wouldn't repair it the same day, sometimes they'll wait. You have to do an assessment, all kinds of stuff. Sometimes, what if you have a cracked windshield?
now you're
and it
coming
costs
moving.
1,000
Now you're coming moving.
Right.
Right. So,
So
in
if you
that
have
scenario,
it-
I agree implicitly.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So you have
that
to wait a
you
few
have
days to get that $1,000 to fix your cracked windshield. Meanwhile, you may drive for a week with that cracked windshield. You risk getting a ticket, but you don't have the money to fix the windshield.
Yeah. But
a lot
I'm
of
going-
people drive like that.
I'm gonna go further to let you off the hook by saying
Okay.
that you may be on your way to fix it. So I'm going a little more. yeah, you may be on your way to fix it. One thing, of
Yeah.
course, to conform with the law. On your way to fix it, you take the chance because you are on the nation's road and subjected, of course, to all the fines and so on if you are caught. And you are caught. Then, from that perspective, I could understand. But I also believe that in such a situation, if you can prove it, you have the option of going to court and, of course, telling the court the extenuating circumstance. And in such a scenario, you will not be subjected.
I guess
It's
you can
part of the
always,
thing.
you can always appeal those tickets. And I had a ticket like that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
went there. And guess what? There were so many-
I'm engaged right now in a matter
Okay.
that was issued. But there's another one that I got subsequently that I can't argue, in that the vehicle was not inspected. So you can't argue that one at all.
No, you
And I
can't.
was
Yeah.
driving it, and
But-
therefore, of course, I had to pay the penalty. But certainly the one before, where I didn't stop at a junction, I am
Right.
contesting that one. Yes, because
Well,
I
want-
felt
okay,
that one was
what
unreasonable.
what I wanted to say, when I went to court that day to argue my case, and I did win it, by the way.
Yeah.
It was dismissed. You won't believe there were like about 50 people there with tickets that were like 5 years ago.
Yeah, mine is that
You know,
one
and I
that
said
I
to
attended
myself,
court.
that's insane.
Yeah, but what
The system is
about
clogged
3
up,
years.
bottleneck, and then
3
she's gonna
years,
have
yeah.
this heavy fine again. It's just
Yeah.
you're gonna see more. You're gonna see it's just gonna be chaotic in the judicial system.
Well, what
That's
I
okay.
expect
But,
to see as well is that the intention, if it is the intention to do that in order to fill the coffers of the country, that people are going to be more conformists, I believe. So
well,
they
I
are
think
going to
she's
be very
really
conscious.
she's
yeah.
really gonna create deep poverty. There's gonna be a big disparity now between the rich and the poor. Rich people can just pay that ticket right away, go to work the next day, even though they took the same risk as a poor person. But that poor person now will have to not
Well,
drive because they don't have the
Well,
money
I
to
can
pay the
see your
ticket.
argument from
You
that
know?
perspective now.
Yeah.
Now, if a person
All
takes
right.
the risk and they are poor,
Yeah.
it's more difficult for them as opposed to a rich person. I can understand that argument. But it does not take away the fact that on whether rich or poor, you had the option of disengaging or avoiding by not using the vehicle. For example, I've decided that I'm going to take taxi when it becomes necessary, until, of course, I remedy all of the defects of my vehicles, and I'm talking about more than one, right? So
Well,
you
it-
have
yeah,
that,
you see,
that as well, the impact.
Well, I just feel like it's a very unfair a fee for regular working poor people.
Yeah, but I don't
mean,
want
there's a
you
lot
to
of,
get caught up
stuff.
either, because I've made the point as well in the P&M
hear you.
propaganda narrative, because I see some trolls, and I have no doubt that some of them are on right now, that will, of course, engage in that way, very emotive and so on, without extrapolating some of the practical, what I consider to be nuances of that situation. You have the option of not engaging, meaning that you conform and you are safe. You engage, you take the risk, in other words, and you are caught. Well, you simply have to treat it. But to say per se that is draconian and that is evil and that is wicked, I think, of course, it's stretching too far, and therefore I could only say it is a narrative that that could only come from Balizé House, because they are the ones who are going to benefit from such a
They would have.
from such a narrative. Yeah. All right.
They would have done the same thing. They would have done the same thing. Okay,
Obviously,
all right.
and
Thank
they
you.
did, in fact, where Kamala and they pick up from, when to reach there was, of course, an outcry. There was an outcry. All right, then. Thanks
All
very
right,
much.
well,
Yeah,
okay,
trying to
thank you.
get
All right.
somebody else is trying to get in. So let me just tell that person. Of course, call again, caller. A very interesting discussion taking place. It is now, of course, 9:44. Well, this has to be the last call. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, good night, Lennox.
Good night.
With the windshield
Uh-huh.
cracking. If you have a little chip in your windshield, and they are going to give you a ticket for that, because some of these chips are not spreadable. All right?
Yeah.
You can have a
modern
chip,
day
and you can-
windscreens avoid shatterings by the material that they use. So you're quite right. And these licensing officers or the police ought to know that. But go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm calling you from Canada, right?
Yes, go ahead,
And
yes, yes.
I have on my vehicle a chip for the years now.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the gas people, and all they did is reinforce it by fixing it, putting some glue in it so it doesn't spread.
Right.
Right? So this is something that they can do, but if it's like a spreadable chip, which is an emergency, because if it shatter, whoever in the car is going to get injured.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
But if it's not a spreadable chip, then they can find some other way to deal with it. you know. So I don't know. There's some of the laws that they can kind of, twist a little.
Yeah.
I think some is too stringent.
Right. But
You know what I mean?
the thing is, don't you think that a lot of discretion on the part of the law enforcers, those who are supposed to enforce the law, is required here? Because if you have a little chit like that, a little speck, maybe from as a consequence of some pebble,
Like a truck, a trucker with what carries, stone and stuff.
Yeah, apart from if you're moving, apart from it's almost impossible for the human eyes to see because they're using the eyes. But if you are moving slowly sufficiently and that attracts their attention, I think the discretion of the officer to, of course, say, well, this will not create any harm. But of course, pay attention to it, kind of thing. If you believe that your officers are not that, should I say, empathetic, because if they were in the position, they would want a bly with respect to that. If they see it as an infringement, not so?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of stuff with the motor vehicle that they have to really be serious about, but also they can give you a blight.
Also, what?
We're not talking about driving reckless and driving without insurance and all this type of thing.
Yeah, those are clear-cut cases.
Vehicle, because you can leave home in the morning.
While this caller from abroad is closing up now. All right,
you can be driving, like check your vehicle, and like people who drive trucks and all of that.
Right.
The guy who called from America who drives his truck, they do check it, and by the day gone, because the truck shakes up, move, that the same light blows.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So if the police was to meet you, you do your circuit check in the morning, and the police meet you at 12 o'clock and your light is blown, that's a ticket. And it's a big ticket. They could give you a warning, and for trucks, they will have you change it because it's serious things for truckers.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm glad that you mentioned.
Vehicles,
Go ahead. I'm glad you mentioned that, because somebody had suggested that you should enshrine that in law, that that person gets his warning, maybe a first warning or second warning, as the case may be. But just as how you have the ticket system which automatically registers, that too must be registered, so that if another person, if another officer who in another situation found you without the lights, for example, they can check easily and record whether or not, or find out whether or not you were warned before. And in such situation, you would have to pay the penalty.
And it's not everyone has the money, pronto, boom, I'm going to be able to fix my thing immediately.
Yeah. But the point is that...
So they need to be a little lenient.
Yeah. But some people say put it in the law. Put it in the law itself. Put it in the law itself. Make sure that
leaving it up to the police,
you leave it up to them, their discretion. You have a problem. All right, thanks very much.
Yeah.
We have to go.
Have a good evening.
Same to you, of course.
Have a good night.
All right, let me just ask this caller. Caller, you will be the final caller. Just call now, and if you don't in the next 10 seconds or so, I will have to conclude the program. Let me say, of course, tomorrow morning the ground report continues on 91.1. We are not yet on television. I think channel 3 or 4. You will be informed. But of course, from 6 to 9 o'clock, let's get this call. This will be the final call. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Lennox.
Yes.
Your brother Carly there.
Yes, man. Yes. All the best to you and your family, man. I was wondering when we will touch base. Yes.
Yes. You know, I'm back home and thing.
Oh, you're back home? No, I know. You ain't tell me nothing, but now I know.
I called you, was to tell you, but I didn't get it.
All right, no problem. When they came in?
I came in a while now. I came in December 4th. But what happened?
Okay.
I lose my suitcase and all kind of thing, and I had a whole set up and down.
Oh my goodness! All right. I hear you.
I tried to get the payment for my suitcase. It didn't look like that happening. And
wow.
When I see you,
we'll talk.
Talking one-on-one.
Yes.
I'll tell you.
Okay, no problem. Well, all the best to you, yours, your family, of course, and I like to tell people, plenty money this year.
Yeah, brother.
All right.
make sure me miss and Marie and the Nigeria them. Right?
Yes, will do.
Yes.
I
Same
certainly will.
thing.
She will be pleasantly, not just surprised, but pleased to know that you are here, and that of course you
Right.
have sent your
Because,
blessings
because
to.
after see her for us to talk some personal thing, but it has
Okay.
to be a one-on-one. We can't talk that on phone.
On air, no, of course not, as we
Right.
normally would do.
But
So thanks very much, my friend, for at least
yes,
causing me
but,
to
but
feel
before,
comfortable and good at the end of
right,
end of the program tonight. You say you have something else
yeah,
to talk about?
but
Go ahead.
before I close off,
Uh-huh.
I think Trump and they play some smart politics there. You know?
Oh yes, man. I mean, it is superlative. It's not just, it's just brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah,
What people
yeah,
expected never happened.
yes, because if you look at that woman, I don't know if you can remember, I told you that woman, she's a right wing.
Yes.
And then she don't have the kind of support that the Maduro administration has. Just
Yeah.
to get rid of Maduro and his wife, you have Delcy Rodriguez there. Delcy Rodriguez, brother, I want to believe he in charge of the army. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You would have had a civil war on your hands. So what they do, they give Delcy, they give Delcy the power. They now will be managing the whole thing because a lot of American oil companies were kicked out.
Yeah. In fact, in
right.
fact, they were savagely mutilated financially by simply
Yes.
confiscating unilaterally
Yes.
the resources. In fact, there is some arbitration circulating across the globe with respect to whether or not PDVSA have money to get anywhere. They will have to get first call on it because of the arbitration decision that was made in the United States. Because even here,
Right.
they made a,
Exactly.
they put it in the court here, and the court agreed that anything that Trinidad owes Venezuela, as far as that is concerned, then of course the first call will be the Philip, I believe it's Philip, Conoco Philip would have been the company that whose assets were confiscated unilaterally by the Maduro, and prior to him, of course, the originator of that left-wing agenda that certainly has crumbled over time.
Right. And then also, Maduro did not, they don't have the technology, even though they are the largest supplier of oil in the world.
Yes, that's right.
They do not have the technology. So these American companies are coming back in because, let us be realistic, Russia, America, and China, we would never see them fellas fighting each other. These guys have nuclear weapons, and if they create a third world war, the whole world dead.
Of course. They know it's mutual destruction, mutual annihilation. Yeah, at minimum.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is not going to happen. So my opinion is Russia, China, and America, they make a deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Russia will continue getting what she getting there. China will continue getting because they have to watch for their investment.
Yes.
They go get a deal, and America going to get the oil because Trump say it's we oil.
Yeah, because he did include in the narrative a brief history saying that we developed it, we put in the infrastructure, and then the country stole it. So I mean, the man is as frank and as blatant and as confident as that. Yeah, he said all you steal, we oil that's supposed to be belonging to all you.
And then you have to remember, America for the longest while she had the Monroe Doctrine, you know.
Oh,
They
yes, yes.
see
Yeah.
the Caribbean, South America, North America as their backyard.
That's
You're
right.
not going to go and mess in the backyard. You understand what I said?
Yeah. But he really show up. He really show up in one fell sweep. Biden, his predecessor, who was that guy? The black American president. All of them, he showed them
Obama.
up. Obama, yes,
Yeah,
all
well,
of them, because they ought to have done
well,
that,
you see-
including, of course, even those who did that who preceded Obama. Yeah.
No, well, you see what happened. Trump is not interested in democracy the way some of us interested in democracy. You know. Trump is more into like calling a spade, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. And if I have an advantage, I take charge.
I say, yes.
Yeah. I have an advantage when here I try to compromise and playing that and giving you some kind of leeway to voice yourself and to gallery and to exacerbate and to no.
Yeah.
I am the boss. Understand that, and you conform to that reality.
And then too, you have to sell your oil in petrodollars.
That's right. So the question of this BRICS and new currency agenda that they would have had in one fell sweep, that gone too, you know. Because remember, Venezuela was supposed to be playing a big part in that. Yeah.
Yes, and that is why Gaddafi got killed, you know. Because what Gaddafi wanted to do, unite Africa and they sell the oil and all the resources using gold as a currency. That would have killed the petrol, that would have killed the US dollar. You know?
US dollar, yeah.
So I mean, that, you know, we need to look at these things, you know what I mean?
Yes. So, well done in terms of your assessment of the situation. I think it conforms with my own position, and many who, of course, can read these issues, these geopolitical and, of course, hemispheric issues, and, you know, what I consider be dialect will not be surprised. But I'm sure that many would have gleaned a lot from the discussion tonight.
Yeah, man. But you know your brother to call you and put in a little 5 cents and 10 cents.
Yes, man. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Well, we have to go now. Right. I'll convey your New Year's salutations. All right. Yes, people, of course.
Man.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Yes. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end, of course. That was a gentleman that I revere, Dr. Khalid. We normally would be on a Sunday morning. I look forward to getting back on a Sunday morning, and him being part and parcel of our educational thrust on the corridor transformation. We need to develop that. We have set up, of course, the classroom. You will be amazed as to what we have done since last we focused on it. I think it was late last year, early December, where we set up a proper classroom and all of that, and it has begun to be a utility, meaning that people start to use it, etc. But more of that we will talk about in coming program. But let's go straight, of course, to the video that I have where I had suspended on screen, just for you to get an appreciation as to the concerns that emanated from the killing of Fresh in brutal and horrendous way, and on no other day but New Year's Day. Of course, we had the unfortunate record of having the first murder of the year. In fact, that's to tell you how dread that situation is. Let me see. All right, yes. So let's start.
I understand what's happening on the first murder for the year. Just a story from the officer and what we're doing in community. I know the guy was minutes here before he was killed.
Oh yes, indeed. Of course, I want to say to you and your family and of course the media fraternity, all the regardless for 2025, but certainly this is a very unfortunate, unprecedented situation for us. At least. Not that it is something that is not uncommon here, but of course, given what we have been trying to do last year, or since, of course, the new government came into office, we opened this office here, for example. It is called the Empowerment Center. If you go inside, you will see where we have, of course, cameras, a classroom, and all of that. And some of my social media blogs and so on will be recorded right here, so that it is part and parcel of a transformation that we thought will begin, and we are not daunted. It's just that it's a very unfortunate situation. We fondly call him Fish, the deceased. He is a member of the Love Party, and as you know, Love is part of the coalition of interests that has formed the government with the UNC since the 28th of April last year, obviously. So that it is very traumatic, it is debilitating for the outsider and for persons like myself who, as I said, we are not daunted, but certainly it is a setback. We are human beings, we are going to feel it. And I want to tell you that moments before he met his demise, right at the corner, he was right here, and we chipped up because we planned today to have some, he was supposed to be the chef to cook rabbit. He was designated to do that. We just gave him some money to, of course, augment the stock that we would have had here. And we expected and we hope, as everybody else, to have a wonderful frolic, if you want to call it, a wonderful getting together as the first day of the year. And then minutes later to hear 1, 2, 3, I was inside at the time, bullets, and of course people were scampering, or my colleagues here were scampering as well, for safety. And that is where we are at this point in time. I don't know if you have any other questions you want to ask, except to say that it is a very traumatic situation for us. We have opened this empowerment center. In fact, one of the things that we propose to do this year is to talk to or to write to the Chief Justice, because many of the young people around here would have had court matters and so on. And as you know, one of the things that would have triggered a previous state of emergency was the shooting outside of the Western Police Station. So what we had planned to do in response to that, and knowing the fact that many of the tasks that the young people had, according to the instructions of the court, is to go and sign some kind of record at the police stations. So what we decided to do was have a designated area here with computer and so on, and we would have asked the court to see if we could have virtual courts from here. So that was part and parcel of the whole development process, and to reduce the amount of incidents like this. Unfortunately, this is an entirely different situation. Fish is not wanted or is known by the police in the context in which the virtual court scenario would have been conceptualized. So again, I want to say it's very, very, very important for us, and it's debilitating, as I say, but we are not going to be daunted. We're going to continue, of course, to plug away these young people. In fact, just before the Christmas, all the boys on the block, they lined 6, 7, 8 of them, and we'll call all of them, and who have children, we'll give each one of them a hamper. So I was just saying that if there is some incident that Fish might have been involved in terms of some kind of conflict, at least they could have come and talk to me, at least they normally would do, and then we would try to see how we could resolve it. But to take that kind of action, I thought that was something that was rapidly being a thing of the past, but clearly it is not.
All right, people, so there you have it. Of course, that is the video that was recorded, and on that particular issue, very, very unfortunate. We learned today that the autopsy, I think, might have been completed today. And then, of course, we're looking at funeral arrangements and, the other processes that would be associated with the final rites of the deceased. I want to say, as I started, that he will be missed first and foremost. A very live wire. The football team that we created will certainly miss him because he's the man who would deal with all of the uniforms and have them laundered and so on. We have yet to decide who would take over from him in terms of that position. He would be taking the guys to and from the games, driving, of course, one of the vehicles that we have made available for that particular project. What again we have, of course, I think there is being planned a game, not a scheduled competitive game, but a practice match up at the Barataria Savannah for the team. Of course, the team is called, we sponsor it, Love that is, but it is called, of course, United Brotherhood, Love, United Brotherhood, Love, or Love United Brotherhood, however you want to call it. Again, in an attempt to get the guys together and to have camaraderie and regular interaction towards, of course, making certain that there's a healthy respect for life, that the people understand their role and responsibility in the society, that they try to elevate the area to first-class citizen status, to, of course, engage in their educational pursuit in a very serious way so that they can earn honestly from the skills that they would have acquired, whether it be academic or otherwise. That is the whole essence of that empowerment center and resource center that we have created, and from which tonight I am, of course, airing this program. So it is a very, very, very sad state of affairs for us, but we shall overcome. He would want us to continue in this vein of attempting to generate the paradigm shift that is required, in spite of those elements that may want us to remain in a state of paradigm paralysis. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Don't forget tomorrow morning the ground report. Andy, Mikey, I always say Mikey, so let me say Andy, Mikey, and myself. I think his spirit is always there, but of course these days he will not be, because of course he is the chairman of the entity through which, of course, state entity through which we are having the ground report from 6 in the morning to 9. We had a very lengthy meeting this evening, Andy, Mikey, and myself. Yes, so he's a part of it, but of course I'm very conscious of the fact that some people may want to say conflict of interest. We say no. We are saying that you created this, you develop it to the point where we can now, be where we are, and therefore we have no qualms, we have no regrets, we have no compunction to say in no uncertain terms that Mikey K has been, of course, the originator. He has been the inventor of the ground report, and his position as chairman of TTT has nothing to do with that reality. So once again, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and see you. I know we have gone over time. I think, what's the time now? Let me take off my glasses. Oh boy, it's 10:10. People, let's go. I was supposed to be out of here. We started on time. I was supposed to be out of here at 9:30. So I give you more than half an hour more on the program. But let's end, of course, with that jokey calypso. I think it's jokey, but yet still powerful morals in terms of the lessons to be learned, which was learned by the mighty bomber when, of course, his mother. Let's say it. I don't think words could give justice.
The proverb she taught me was so awful because the next along the rope was a big pitfall. Oh, my Lord, oh. I was born the longest rope have I had. Teach me proverbs and get me in trouble. She say how you make your bed so you lie, and you never miss the water till well run dry. The proverb that really trapped me, my friend, is when she told me that the longest rope have I had. So the next day I went by my father home. I look on the ground, see a piece of rope. I pull the rope till my hand get torn. Well, I never see rope long so since I born. But coming to the end when I raise my head, I have to take off and fall out, oh God, I'm dead. The proverb she taught me was so awful because the next